All right, so a couple days ago, I made a video that was about Ed Markey coming out and basically opposing Biden's continued pointless negotiations with the Republican Party on this next infrastructure package. And Ed Markey's opposition to this package was basically that it had no serious addressing of climate change in it. And any, infrastructure package that we're going to actually push through needs to have climate change at the center of it, because that's the biggest crisis that we are facing. And our infrastructure is significantly inadequate in being able to handle what is inevitably going to come as a consequence of our inaction on climate change. And so it seems like this idea of completely opposing any bipartisan legislation that is put forward by Republicans is starting to pick up some steam. And we had Jamal Bowman, I think, went on CNN, did an interview about how he would not consider voting for a watered down Republican piece of legislation. And now we have Bernie Sanders joining that chorus. Sanders won't vote for a bipartisan infrastructure deal. So he says, this is from The Hill, Senate Budget Committee Chairman Bernie Sanders says he won't support a bipartisan infrastructure spending proposal unveiled last week because he believes it doesn't do enough to address the needs of the country and shields the wealthy from tax increases. So basically what he was referring to is that in these entire negotiations from the beginning, and this is how ridiculous this has been, Biden ran on an already pathetic corporate tax rate proposal, and his tax proposals didn't even go back to the Obama days. They were basically just half undoing what Trump did in his massive tax breaks for billionaires and corporations. So his initial tax proposal was already inadequate, and then he starts negotiating with Republicans and basically agrees to water it down to nothing, right? He completely went back on the corporate tax rate, raising it up at all, and basically offered to leave the Trump tax cuts as they existed under Trump in order to get Republicans to come on board with the infrastructure package. And then even with that ridiculous massive concession, which he shouldn't have done, Republicans still were not coming to the table in a serious way to put forward anything legitimate. And so that's what Bernie Sanders is talking about right there. Of course, this new infrastructure package shields the wealthy from tax increases because there really are not any major tax increases in the compromised proposal that they were putting forward. So he continues, Sanders' opposition means the proposal would need to garner at least 11 Republican votes in the 50-50 Senate. That is not happening. That's straight up not going to happen. If Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer puts it on the floor and the rest of the Democratic caucus votes for it, he says, I wouldn't vote for it, he told reporters on Monday evening. The bottom line is there are needs facing the country. Now's the time to address those needs. And it has to be paid for in a progressive way, given the fact that we have massive income, wealth, inequality in America. And other Democrats share Sanders' disappointment with the size of the bipartisan proposal, which would spend only $579 billion in new money over current budget baseline. So, I mean, listen, I don't really have much more commentary to add to this other than what I've been saying repeatedly throughout these entire negotiations that never should have began in the first place. In order to pass this infrastructure package, Democrats are going to have to go through the process of budget reconciliation, which means they are not going to have Republicans supporting them on it, which means they should only be discussing this within their own party, okay? The farthest right person that you should be consulting on infrastructure is Joe Manchin. It shouldn't be Mitch McConnell or Mitt Romney or any of these other Republicans who you think you're going to get to cross over. It was just completely unnecessary from the beginning. You're going to use the process of budget reconciliation, requires 50 votes, Kamala Harris being the tiebreaker. Stay within your own goddamn party and stop negotiating and watering down a package for absolutely no goddamn reason. This is the exact same strategy that was put forward by Republicans under the Obama years, where they would do these negotiations, pretend as if they were actually going to vote for it, water it down significantly, and then when it came time to vote for it, they just wouldn't actually vote for it. And so this is completely pointless. There was never any need to negotiate or even talk to the Republican Party from the beginning. There are certain needs that our infrastructure has that we need to meet right now. I've been saying this again repeatedly throughout these entire negotiations, but the American Society for Civil Engineers, the actual experts on this issue, estimate that we need to spend at least $1 trillion over the next 5 years per year, $1 trillion per year by 2025 in order to get our infrastructure up to a grade of a B+. Okay, up to an adequate way for our infrastructure to be caught up, and that doesn't even include addressing the needs that are added on top of that with climate change. So if you want us to be leading in the world in infrastructure, if you want us to actually be addressing climate change, then we need at least bare minimum $1 trillion a year. It really should be more than that, and that's really the line in the sand that Bernie Sanders should be drawing right now. Biden's original $2 trillion over 8 years proposal was completely pathetic in and of itself, and these Republican proposals are just an absolute joke. So he's got to mean it when he says that he won't vote for this. Go to Joe Biden, show him your red line in the sand, get a bloc together that will refuse to vote for it if he doesn't meet that red line in the sand, and that's the strategy. It's pretty simple. Just have a cohesive bloc, refuse to vote for it unless Biden concedes to your demands.